of Louisiana. A lot can be said about the fact that places like Georgia, uh, Birmingham, Alabama, Atlanta, Georgia, Albany, Georgia, have created a false narrative that they are the cradle of grassroots advocacy, civil rights, human rights movement. But the reality is that that all started primarily in the state of Louisiana, uh, going way, way, way back in terms of the rebellions, the various slave rebellions that are a lot of people don't know about. So this movie sets the tone for the continuation of the grassroots revolutionary movement, that saw a lot of grassroots people throughout the South take up arms to defend ourselves. So the whole narrative that our people just sat idle and allowed white folks to oppress and devastate us, all of us did not allow that to happen. So I wanted to say that before we began. So as always, I want to get everybody to give me, minute, 2 minute synopsis of their thoughts of the film. And as Tamani always says, we start with the sisters.
Word. If you can give birth to a child, that means that'll be you, because I can't do that. I can assist, as I've done 3 times.
I think, okay, this is Tara. It was enlightening. I knew about the Deacons of Defense, but I wasn't aware of, the chapter that was in Bogalusa. So it was, I think, a cool story. Craig and I had an opportunity to talk about it last night, and although it was a heroic effort, I think what was lost is we wanted to be a part. We wanted to be liked, we wanted to be loved by the white people, and the storyline, it ended as if we accomplished that. But what did we really gain by being liked or being able to go in the hat store and try on a hat without a girl looking crazy? What did we gain from that? But I do like the fact that the brothers, especially the main character, decided, enough was enough. Like, I've been stepping and fetching all this time, and I protect my child, and I get beat down for trying to protect my own. So it's now time to speak up. That was a valiant effort. Great storyline.
Good go. Good go. Next.
It's Crystal. I don't hardly watch TV or definitely hardly don't even watch movies. So it was kind of hard for me initially to even force myself to look at the picture. But as I started listening and watching it, it was very interesting. I was getting angry. Angry. And what I took away from it is that laws do not protect people. People protect people. And that even applies today. White people have the power and they make the laws. And when they decide to enforce the laws, then and that's a person, because laws are nothing but words on paper on the books. So like how you saw at the end of the film where they were telling the police officer, the judge had already decreed that you will protect these people, okay, due to federal law. And so, at the last minute, yeah, he acted, but even prior to then, when the judge had made that ruling, he said, this issue has been here before, and now here we are again. And that just goes to show you that even though a law was on the books, the people were not adhering to the law. They still was out there maiming and killing, lynching, murdering Black people. So I'm just here today saying it's still the same thing. They make the rules, so when they decide to enforce it, they can, and when they don't have to. And so what do we have at our disposal to gain power as well as force their hands, and so that we will never lose power. Because I do want to end up saying, as the credits, or what, not the credits, the last part, some wording appeared where you could read, and it said something about they had chapters throughout the United States, several dozens of chapters, I think as of 1966, and then it indicated that throughout time they got lost. So it's like they no longer exist. At least that's what I'm taking away from it. Do they exist still today?
And we're going to talk about that, but that's a very good point that you bring up. So that's going to be mentioned as we go through the discussion. So I'm glad you asked the question. Good question. Right. Good question. And Tara actually brought that up last night when we were discussing that. But that's a very good question.
Hi. Hi, this is April. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So that was my first time seeing the movie and hearing of the movement. And so it's a point that that resonated with me, Craig, that you said in terms of I was just at first disturbed by Forrest Whitaker, the character he played, and just being so docile. And but I think when you said what it showed me, and I knew that stories like this existed, that everyone did not just lie dormant and allowed what was happening to families and our people. Everybody was not that docile Negro that history seems to show. And so, the Nat Turners and the this group and groups like this and individuals that that spoke up and did something, did more, was just, we need to see more of it, that level of power amongst our people. The biggest piece too that I think as an educator really resonated is that what we say and what we do and how powerful that is for young people. And so Forrest Whitaker, again, the character that he played when he was a young person, that impressionable memory that he had, that when his father took him that born and said, "Don't you forget."
Yeah.
And how that stayed with him and really defined the type of man he would be.
Yeah.
And so, and then later when you saw him and the image that the story showed where he and other men at the end burned that same barn and said to their children, "Don't you forget." Wow, that was powerful. And you can imagine just the trajectory. And then, of course, when his daughter saw him standing up and fighting and risking his life for the movement and for just the sake of his dignity. And so it just reminds me, and it's so poignant to think how the things we say and we do have a lasting memory on our children and who they will become and what they think and what they do, not only today, but for generations after.
That's a powerful assessment. Powerful assessment. Next.
Okay. I was proud of my reaction of the movie this time around. The first time I saw the movie was years ago, and I felt helpless and hopeless, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't a part of any organization that was trying to do any meaningful change. This time when I saw it, I felt, I mean, I still felt like, what is Forrest Whitaker doing here with this role? But then I remembered it was 1932. This time around, I felt a little better about seeing it because I am a part of an organization that's trying to make some kind of concrete change in it. However, what I noticed was that the three lines that affected me then still affect me now, still resonate with me today, because not much has changed. We're still begging white people to love us and give us a chance. You know, please love us. Even and from 1932, you know, it's still that. And one of them was when when they came to arrest Forrest Whitaker, Marcus, and he said, "I was just protecting my daughter." And when that officer told him that's a privilege you don't have, it was like he stuck a knife in my heart and twisted it, you know, and that's the way it felt even then. But now, I mean, it's just like, man, and they still feel that way, you know. The second line that got to me was when his wife was sitting there on the stairway and they were talking about it. And she says, boy, he asked, I don't know if he asked her, I can't remember if he asked her what she's feeling or what. Well, he asked her a question. And she said, the life of my children growing up with dignity, or the life of my husband. She said, I don't have an answer for that. You know, I don't have an answer for that. And I felt that deeply then, and I still feel it. And the third line that got me is one of the things why we always seem to come up on the short end of the stick. And that's when they went to I think it was the meeting with the governor, and the three of them, him and TJ and the other guy, was sitting there, and they asked them, what do you, quote unquote, personally want?
Exactly.
And that's where the tables turn when them bourgeoisie Negroes are sitting up there talking to them. They hear that word. It's like, when we give you what you personally want, all this will go away. So,
exactly.
I mean, it just shows how much hasn't changed, because we still believing in the illusion that they're going to love us. And they still keep getting us with the same 3 points, the same three. After a while, they're going to memorize it and just give their kids a script and say, when they start protesting, just do this.
Yeah. Great assessment. Great assessment.
The philosophy, system, and game.
Next. Any other sisters? I guess.
I'll add in some thoughts I had. You know, it was a great film, and some of the main pieces for me that really stood out were around there's some pieces around spirituality that really stood out for me. You know, the whole thing about deacons and their role, and that this idea of, for some reason during this, the song "Praying for Help" popped up in my mind. T.I.'s version of the song "Praying for Help," and also Sunday, Bloody Sunday. So this piece around, you know, prayer and action, and that your action is prayer. Your action is an act of love and expression of your spirit.
Exactly.
And that this piece with, you know, strategic action, like, yes, we could pick up arms, but it wasn't just, you know, pick up arms and start killing people. There's a strategic and organized show of force.
That's right.
You know, it wasn't rioting, it wasn't just protesting, and it wasn't just demonstrating. It was an action that really came from, you know, the organizer that comes from up north comes down, the white guy comes in and says, you know, the other guy with him says, why are you willing to die for this, right?
Yeah.
And he says, well, that they, the white guys, are not the same color as God. And that was, that's an important piece about, who are we and what is this war about and what is this army about in the divine right. Those pieces they're resonating in the story of everything. And that the Klan is the school, the police, the medical field, the government. And some of that for me was really important because it's what we're looking at right now, in terms of the same old story and the same old thing that continues to happen. And they're still killing us anyway. Don't be afraid. This piece around don't be afraid. And the father on the deathbed is saying to his son, this is going to continue basically unless we do something, and we do it the right way. We really do something. And that what stood out for me now is this time around, this infiltration into the government and into all of these other systems of government, police, school, medical, and including the feds. There won't be federal intervention in that sense. I mean, there may be, but if we look at what federal level is doing right now, they are pulling back any type of anti-racist anything. They're being extremely forceful with their show of force. And so this idea of waiting on, praying on, hoping for, wishing for, but also versus the idea of just being reactionary, rather than being responsive and responsible for our own destiny, was what really stood out for me about this film.
Powerful. Powerful. Next.
This is Jennifer. I don't have much more to add. Everybody brought up very valid points that I also noticed. I think the one line that stood out to me, like Sister Ray said, was when the two white guys were dropped off on the bridge, and the one brown-haired one said, Michael said to the other one, that God looks like, that God doesn't look like us. That's what stuck out to me. But the whole film kind of made me angry from beginning to end, from the fact that the white guys had to. There were a lot of things that were highlighted, that made me very upset. And then the lines also, when Forrest Whitaker kept telling his son, not kept telling his son, but I think he was kind of suggesting like this won't be a problem in the future. Like, and I'm thinking to myself, and I know David was probably getting on his nerves every fourth line saying, like making noises and stuff. Like these are things that we're still dealing with now. So
That's right.
it was a good film. And that's all I had to add to that.
Okay. Next.
I don't have much more to add. I'll just say I think I went through most of the film being kind of cynical and being like kind of what Tara was saying, which was like, being on the other side of history, of course, you kind of know that, things weren't wrapped up in a nice little bow at the end. And, I'm of course, glad they did what they did, the deacons defending themselves and things like that. But of course, it's kind of like, oh, well, things didn't like really, progress the way they probably would have hoped or whatever. I think, and there was something Jennifer just said that I wanted to touch on too, but
the pigmentation of God.
Yeah, that really stood out too. That it's ridiculous that they really think that. But you have some newscaster. You guys probably can think of her name, but she really. This one lady on Fox was actually saying, "Yeah, God is white and Santa is white." I'm like, lady, okay. Anyway, but no, it was actually about the like white savior complex thing. I don't know the history. I'd never heard of the Deacons of Defense before. I don't think so anyway. But all throughout the movie, I was just wondering how much these deacons really depended on these white boys coming from the north to, like, you know, put some fire and, you know, kind of help them and stuff. I was just wondering how true that was the whole time, because, you know, a lot of these movies we all know are made by white folks, and then it's like, yeah, we have to portray ourselves as these Klan members, but we have to also insert, you know, these good white people too. So I was just kind of wondering how much of that was true. But
Good question.
but
Good
yeah,
question.
yeah, that was oh yeah, the other part. Oh, the wife. It was like, oh, wife, like, be more like revolutionary. But yeah, I was almost like, dang, they need to get a divorce. But yeah, that's it. I'm done.
All right, good go. Next.
That was the last sister. So any brother?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and comment. This is Nantambu. I was gonna say that what was significant to me, that the fact that Michael Dean and Charles Hildebrand came there, but they were coming there because the place that they were trying to open up had been closed down before, and the fear that the whole police department and the Klan had put upon the people in the community was, very distinctive, and people just didn't go to Bogalusa because it was so dangerous, and people feared for their lives to go there. And as the sisters were talking about when they were at the bridge, Michael had said, "I'm going back," and Charles said, "Look, man, I want to have a wife and kids. They go kill us." And but that was part of the story in terms of them having to deal with what they had to deal with. But the brothers and sisters that lived in the community, they had tried those things before, as in the movie it was described. But each time, the police said that they would close it down again. And that was one of the references that the police officer made, is that we're going to have to close y'all down again because people had been coming down there. But once they did the part where it became national, start putting it on TV and boycotting the store and making, them take notice of that, hey, we're going to get what we want and we're going to get what is coming to us. But it was a long, protracted struggle from that period of 1932 all the way up until 1965, in which that little period had happened. So it was just very difficult, but people kept trying. It was just that, as the sisters were saying earlier, it wasn't that nobody wasn't doing anything. People had been trying all along. But at some point, it became a stalemate, that they had to try to do something to get something enacted there. And then some other things started to change, but it was a long enduring process, and people's mentality had to change over a period of time. And even Marcus, he didn't want to be involved at all. He even told his daughter not to be involved in that process, but his daughter did defy him and went to the meeting. But when it changed was, in terms of Marcus's point of view, was that when they attacked his daughter, he felt like he had to do something. And then when he realized that nothing was going to change unless they continued to act and be a agent of change, and then that's when things started, flipping a little bit, and more people started joining the Deacons for Defense. But I thought it was instrumental that it was a protracted struggle and constant evolvement of the struggle in terms of that movie, of where they were trying to go and where they were trying to get to.
Absolutely great. Next.
All right, I'll go next. This is David. I enjoyed the movie. I knew a little bit about the Deacons before, but not too much. One of my points that I'd like to make is that I like the way that Michael, the lawyer, white guy lawyer, explained the Klan to the federal prosecutor. How it's entrenched terrorist network throughout the South that have their hands in everything. That was a great explanation of what the Klan is and what the Klan does. My second point is that the movie, I think, in my opinion, didn't give an accurate enough depiction of the fear that people in Bogalusa probably felt. They kind of just played it up more on Forrest Whitaker's side to make it seem like he was just scared of white folks, but they didn't show enough of the intense Klan activity that would lead to a man who was in the Army and a whole bunch of guys who were in the Army being able to temper down their manhood to protect their families. So there's one point of how they should have showed a little more about how the Klan operates to affect the families. But I guess they played it through Forrest's character. But I do like that how in the end he was able to overcome the trauma, I guess, from I think one of the sisters said when he saw his dad took him on over to the barn, he saw the man who had been lynched. He was able to overcome that trauma that he saw as a young kid to be able to step up finally. So I liked it.
Great assessment. Next.
Brother Joseph, are you going to add a commentary? If not, I'll say mine.
Yeah, I'm coming in. Yeah, how y'all doing, brothers
All right.
and sisters? What I get from it, is I don't have nothing to do with no church, but I want to be a part of. I want to be a deacon. I'm deacon of the fence, and I know in the sense of where they were at that time, it was. I would say it was a pivotal time where, like right now, I see it as today, that we as men and women of color need to come together and look up for ourselves. And I don't like the fact that it had to take a white man to come in to wake up the black man to push the black man out there against their own kind. But this go round, I would just say, I don't want to see no white people around me to move forward in any kind of movement. A lot of people thinking that we need all people, but we have to first look out for ourselves and structure ourselves, because we were structured before, and we had unity, and I feel like the church is the number one stronghold on our black community, and I think I posted this morning the pastor is the agent for them, because we don't have the same pastors that we had back then. We need more Nat Turner pastors, and making it seem like we need to have defense and stand up for our people all the way through, and not be docile in any kind of sense, and thinking that we need other people in order for us to move forward. We need ourselves. We got ourselves. We are the original people. So arm ourselves and learn to use the arm. That's it.
Great assessment. Great assessment.
All right, I'm gonna piggyback on what what Brother Joseph just said. But overall, I thought it was okay. I was getting kind of annoyed with the mentality of the people, but I get it given the time period. Other than Forrest Whitaker's hairline and some of the acting in the movie, okay, I was thinking, what did they do to my brother's hairline?
Oh man,
I thought that was crazy.
I'm glad somebody brought it up.
The most shocking part was when we went from when he was a kid, and then we woke up in the bed and we saw the hairline.
I know, it was like, what?
It was like, what are we doing here? Man? What is going on?
So other than that, I thought the makers were trying too hard to make the white boys the heroes, which of course is what they always do, which is annoying as hell to me. I took away from it, the reality of what we can accomplish when we mobilize and organize. There are so many things that are possible once we mobilize and organize with a specific mission in mind. But the converse to that is we only mobilize and organize for the moment. It wasn't like that security wasn't needed from that time period to now. It wasn't like we don't have other issues that should have been tied into that. But of course, that's not what we do. We mobilize and organize for the moment. And then when that moment passes, the mobilization and the organization dissipates, which is a problem. Having been in the military, I was extremely bothered with some of their tactics and strategies. When they were having a one-on-one confrontation with the white boys at the end, I'm thinking, ain't no way in hell I'm walking up to somebody and they got a weapon already pointed at me. We're not gonna play that game. So I was extremely annoyed. And with the white boy who was constantly trying to take out Forrest Whitaker, I'm thinking, well, I was sniper. So I was just thinking from a different vantage point. But again, I understand the time period. I agree with Sister Mary and, of course, the white savior complex. That's in all the movies that they produce, which is a given. Sister Tara's point, at the end, I'm like, Jesus Christ, when the sister and her daughter go into the white woman's store, I'm thinking, all right, so that bothered me, the fact that we still want to be accepted, loved, give them our money. I'm like, come on. So, that was a problem. And the last thing, Sister Crystal's point, I took away from that statement at the end, in that they lost the history of who they are was lost in the Louisiana woods. No one knows. It's not like the Panthers. Most people don't know about the Deacons of Defense. So I took from that statement that they've been lost in history, not necessarily that they lost their way. And I don't know if at some point they said, okay, well, there's no need for us to defend it anymore because we got what we needed. I don't know, but that's what I took away from that one particular statement at the end. And that's it.
All right. These were all very, very good comments. Very good assessments. As always, all of the films that we review all connect. So when you guys watch movies, and you can go back, Brother Tamani has a list of the films that we've already reviewed. Every film is a part of the Enlightenment curriculum. I don't care if it's The Matrix, Divergent, Spook That Sat by the Door. All of these films are directly connected to each other, no matter what the subject matter. So I want you all to think, when you're looking at a film, from all of these different angles, especially as it relates to The Matrix. As always, the first few minutes of the film set the tone. There was a lot within the first minute. They set the film in 1932 in Bogalusa. And if you've never been to South Louisiana, Bogalusa is a little bit over 100 miles from New Orleans. And that's a very important part in the film. South Louisiana, first and foremost, two different states. I'm from North Louisiana, and North Louisiana was, our ancestors were enslaved and oppressed by the Scottish Irish. When you leave Shreveport and go 70 miles south on I-49, the oldest town in the state is a town called Natchitoches, Louisiana. Natchitoches is actually a term that represents three Indian brothers, and these towns between Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas represent those three brothers. One, the town in Mississippi is called Natchez. Louisiana is Natchitoches. And then in Texas, it's Nacogdoches. And that's important in terms of Louisiana because that's where you start to pick up the whole French-Spanish thing. So you got two different types of black folks, African descendants in Louisiana. The folks and two different types of enslavement corridors. As you go south, the whole French-Spanish things come into play, and the French-Spanish had a different way of enslaving and oppressing our people. They, hence why you have Louisiana. Most people, think about Louisiana, the etouffee, the gumbo, all of these different things. That's South Louisiana. North Louisiana is more soul food. Both parts have had revolutionary brothers from it, and we're going to get into that, especially the original Deacons for Defense chapter that was started, because it wasn't started in Bogalusa, it was started in Jonesboro, Louisiana. But I wanted to just provide some context as relates to the individuals that you were depicted in this particular film. So when you get down to South Louisiana, Bogalusa area, New Orleans, Lafayette, all of these particular South Louisiana areas, you're going to see the religious construct down there being more Catholic because of the whole French-Spanish thing. South Louisiana actually has more Black Catholics than any other part of the United States. I graduated from Xavier University, which is the only Tara and I, as a matter of fact, both of us graduated from Xavier University, the only African American Catholic institution in the Western Hemisphere. So religiosity plays a huge role throughout the state of Louisiana, and uniquely in South Louisiana, with the difference between the French-Spanish dynamic. So in the first 2 minutes of the film, you see something very profound. And I don't know if it was Sister Fabu or somebody referenced the manhood development training that was going on with his father, teaching him how to hunt, right? This is where you first pick up on it. And you go back and you listen to what he's saying. Bill Duke put that in the movie specifically for a reason. If you sit and think about it, they're talking about the animal that they're hunting, but he's actually teaching them about the white man. Did y'all pick up on that? He was teaching them that you got to be more smarter, more intelligent, because he can smell you coming, he can sense you, and you got to be better. Got to be better. He was drilling that in his head early on. Of course, they chase the animal, lose sight of that, and they make it to the barn. And although it wasn't referenced, I think a lot of people probably thought about this just being a typical hanging, but that hanging was symbolic in context with the movie, because why? The movie was around the whole voting rights deal. So when you put all this in context, you'll start to understand the KKK began to rise after the 13th Amendment was passed. Why? Because now our ancestors started to get a few rights. 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, and now the 15th Amendment comes into the whole voting rights thing. I always tell our people, if you believe that voting is not important or isn't significant, why do you think they work so hard to suppress your vote? Why do you think they work so hard to prevent you from voting? Why do you all think that? Why do you think if voting is not important, why do they work so hard to prevent you from voting?
Because it is important. That's why they put so much time, energy, and effort into it. If it wasn't important, then why would they care?
Exactly. Anybody else? Okay.
It signifies a unification of an idea of concepts and then taking action on those. When you're unified in a thought, you can then take action on that thought.
That's true. The other big thing about why they work so hard, so y'all can really, really get this, the power, and Sister Crystal talked about this in terms of the law being on paper, the power of the United States, the power of each state, the power of each county or parish, the power of each city is on paper, and it is all centered around the goddamn vote. It's all centered around the goddamn vote. A government of the people, for the people, by the people. But the game is to put it on paper and physically prevent you or create obstacles to prevent you or discourage you from exercising your franchise. And unfortunately, we buy into the foolishness because we got caught up in the physical intimidation. That's why they do it, because the power is on the paper. But in order for the paper to become realized, you gotta be willing to overcome the fear. And what is the number one fear we gotta be able to overcome?
Fear of dying.
You goddamn right. You goddamn right. You gotta be able to overcome the fear of dying. Martin Luther King said it best, although I did not agree with Martin Luther King's philosophy when he first came onto the scene. And another film that we're gonna definitely have to watch is the Vernon John story. You think you didn't know much about the Deacons for Defense? I know damn well you don't know much about Reverend Vernon John, but Reverend John was the Christian version of Malcolm X in Montgomery, Alabama. And he had an opportunity. Martin Luther King came in to Montgomery because this dude was so gangster. And so Dexter Avenue Baptist Church had to get rid of him because they were afraid of dying, and he was pushing the envelope. But Martin Luther King, when he was being tutored by Reverend Johns before Reverend Johns left the church, this is where he comes up with the quote that says, "A man who is not willing to die for something ain't fit to live." And so you got to ask yourself the question, what are you willing to die for? And so throughout the film, you see Negroes are afraid of dying. And I'm glad, I think that was Sister Mary who talked about the wife. Ooh, my goodness. See, her premise was that by keeping her mouth shut, that was dignity, and allowing, the children to be peaceful, I should say, or fighting for dignity, which now that means you gotta risk your life, but then I gotta risk my husband's life. So let me just be quiet and be peaceful. But in this game, you gotta overcome that fear of dying, because the game in the United States is to intimidate you to not exercise your franchise. And when they get you to do that, you can never win in the game. You can't even win economically in the game because currency is tied to politics, governmental politics. So when people say, oh, gold and silver and cryptocurrency, all this shit is governmental politics. Nothing. I don't care what country you go to. It is all rooted in governmental politics. The question is, who's going to run the show? And my premise has always been grassroots people running the show. And so this film really brings that home. Another great thing about this film, just some tidbits. Robert Bob Hicks is who this film is based on. That's the Bogalusa chapter of the Deacons for Defense. One of my good colleagues out of Shreveport, Louisiana, Brother Ron Collins, who is the grandson of the owner, the founder of the oldest black newspaper that still exists in the city, in the state of Louisiana. Bob Hicks was Brother Ron Collins' uncle. So that's a good tidbit. And then number two, my good colleague out of Monroe, Louisiana, Rick Salisbury, his wife, her grandfather was Brother Frederick Douglass Kilpatrick. And you can look, Kirkpatrick, I meant. You can look at the entries online and read about the Deacons. I sent Brother Tamani an article this morning that talked about Brother Frederick Douglass Kirkpatrick and Ernest Chili Will Thomas. They are the original founders of the Deacons for Defense. They were started in Jonesboro, Louisiana. Okay? And this is important because Jonesboro is about 40 miles from Grambling, Louisiana, one of the black townships that's part of the Black Gold Nation Game Plan. And it's also about 50 miles from Monroe, Louisiana. Now, why is that important? Because one of the founders of the Black Panther Party for self-defense was Huey P. Newton. And Huey P. Newton migrated from Monroe, Louisiana to Oakland, California, and he became one of the founders of the Black Panthers with Bobby Seale. So see, Louisiana is gangster all around. It's just in us to be gangster. Stanley Tookie Williams is from Shreveport, Louisiana, co-founder of the Crips gang. All these cats are, a lot of your people from California, your real major movers and shakers in California, most of them are from Louisiana, whether it be Johnny Cochran, whether it be O.J. Simpson and Johnny Cochran with the case, beyond the fact that he killed a white girl. But Venus and Serena Williams' father, you can go down the line. Most of these people are from Louisiana. The movie that Will Smith did about Christopher Gardner, what was it called? Something Happening, In Pursuit of Happiness. This guy's from Louisiana. So the Louisiana ancestry is rooted throughout the entire film, and that is what the Deacons for Defense basically was replaced by the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Get it? The Deacons for Defense and Justice and the Black Panther Party for self-defense. And the Black Panther Party came out of the Loudoun County Democratic Political Organization in Mississippi because they used the panther as their symbol. Mm-hmm. See, all of these things connect. They're not just abstract. So the Deacons perceptively lost their way, but in a nutshell, they morphed, in essence, the spirit of them morphed into the Black Panther Party, because guess who was boots on the ground in Louisiana and Mississippi during this whole summer of 1964, 1965? Stokely Carmichael.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
See, all of this happened. So the Deacons protected James Meredith. And so remember now, this movie picks up in 1965. So what had already happened that now started to get a change for military style organization? What had already been proven was not effective?
Marching?
Under what philosophy?
Originally, the original philosophy of peace, Mahatma Gandhi, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, what is that philosophy? What was the philosophy? And it was mentioned throughout this film.
Nonviolence.
Exactly. So now let's get into this bullshit concept of nonviolence. All right. If a white person creates, and now I'm gonna use the politics to show you how this works. What were the original two positions of the abortion issue? What were those two initial positions called on abortion? You were going to be pro-abortion,
Yeah.
or you were going to be what?
Anti.
Pro-choice.
No, initial was pro-abortion or anti-abortion.
Anti-abortion.
So the white liberals, to now create a more politically palatable position, they changed their position to what? Pro-choice. And then the white Republicans, the so-called conservatives, they came back and now countered that particular change. And what did they change their position to be in? Pro-life. So you go from pro-abortion, anti-abortion, to pro-choice, to pro-life. Now, what does that have to do with what we're talking about? The white folks created the concept of nonviolence. Why did they do this? Why did they create that type of philosophy that Martin Luther King embraced? Why do you think they did that?
To keep Negroes from getting violent.
Okay. What else?
Well, I would say it was like the guy said in the movie, you're not going to give a bunch of guns to a mob of angry Negroes, you know?
Okay. Anybody else?
I think it was to confuse violence with defense.
Interesting. Anybody else? So if people want to help and they don't look like you, and the people who are oppressing you looks like them, do you honestly believe that they want to actually kill them?
Absolutely not.
Nope.
Exactly. So now I got to create a philosophy or a position that now actually endangers you while creating the illusion that I'm helping you while putting you on the front line. Did you understand what I just said?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
The concept of nonviolence is a twofold thing. It absolves the individuals who are European, who are claiming that they want to help, but they do not want to go in the paint against some of their own cousins, uncles, grandparents, and whatnot. Joseph said say it again. So what I'm saying is nonviolence, white folks, liberals who say they want to help, they are the ones that created the concept of nonviolence. It's a Eurocentric philosophy that Gandhi took up, but you got to understand who Gandhi was, because Gandhi was never nonviolent. He was given that philosophy by white folks, but Gandhi used to be in the English army. Gandhi used to help white folks murder African people on the continent. Do your research and find out about it. So Martin Luther King, they adopted a Eurocentric concept through Gandhi. And the concept allows for Negroes to put themselves on the front line. Now think about this. Yes, Gandhi was racist. Now think about this. I discussed this not too long ago. Martin Luther King's real name is what?
Michael something.
Martin Luther King's real name is Michael King. So how did he get the name Martin Luther King?
His father gave it to him.
Why did his father give him the name Martin Luther King?
Influence by Martin Luther.
All right, Martin Luther and the Christian Crusades, Protestant Reformation was now I want y'all to hear me now, because this was mentioned in the film. The white boy made sure to make this known. Because this was a point of contention between Marcus and the white dude, because Marcus had seen this goddamn I have a dream shit ain't working. We done did the March on Washington, they still killing our ass. We've been praying for their ass, they still killing our ass. We done got the 1964 Civil Rights Act, they still killing our ass. So now, Stokely Carmichael and some other young people like, fuck the bullshit, we need to start to arm ourselves and bust some caps. Now, mind you, everything that's going on, remember, who else is alive during this time?
Malcolm X.
Malcolm is alive. You see what I'm saying? Stokely is rolling. Angela Davis is rolling. The SLA is rolling. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
A lot of stuff is going on at this time. And young people, and so what other movement was going on while the civil rights movement was going on?
You mean aside from the Black Power movement?
The Black Power movement. The Black Power. So young people like, you hit me, goddammit, I'm gonna hit your ass back.
Boo bap.
Saw that this whole concept of nonviolence was a joke. So now, we got Martin Luther King constantly pushing. Marcus is like, no, you gotta stay alive in order to be able to fight. But the white boys pushing Martin Luther King nonviolence, which he got from Gandhi, which Gandhi got from the Europeans. So now Martin Luther King's real name, Michael King, his dad changes both of their names to Martin Luther after Martin Luther and the Christian Crusade. So somebody, was Martin Luther and the Christian Crusade, did they convert people through praying for them and talking about Jesus?
No major religion converts peacefully.
How did they convert their goddamn ass?
Through violence. I think the quote is, nigga, get it right, I'm gonna kill you.
That's the hypocrisy of Martin Luther King, y'all. Do your research, y'all. I need y'all to research Martin Luther and the Protestant Reformation and the Christian Crusades. Look at what they did and look at how confused Martin Luther King was. His dad changed their name because they thought they were gonna do the war based on the concept of prayer. Brother Brian, you got your hand up?
Yes, brother. Going along with what y'all was saying about the Protestant Reformation, that's why the Klan says that they are white Protestants, because they are not Catholics. And their whole thing is violence. Their position comes out of that whole concept of Martin Luther, that you fight for everything, and if you have to kill, you will.
So, because now, let me see if y'all were paying attention. In the first couple of minutes of the damn film, when Marcus and his dad take cover in front of the barn, did y'all hear anything coming from the Klan?
The white boy said, I see you at church.
Yes.
They said, I see your ass at church. Yet the Negro is so foolish, and they'll say, oh, the Klan ain't a Christian. Oh, yeah, they are a Christian organization, goddammit. That's Christianity. But the Negro wants to fantasize and romanticize their illusion of Christianity. But the Klan is letting you know we're a Christian organization. You don't have to believe me. Just do your research. Go pull up the Protestant Reformation and the Christian Crusade, and let's see if their ass was praying for people or were they slaying.
In one part in the movie, the guy who owned the paper plant, or the one that wore the glasses, he said, beat him with the love of Christ and the rage of Satan, or something like that.
That's right. That's right.
I saw.
He was quoting the Bible. That's why Bill Duke let it be known throughout the movie. The Klan is a Christian organization.
You know, Brother Craig, that's something that interested me too after you told us about I always look at the author of all these movies and everything. When I first saw the name Bill Duke, I said, uh-oh, you know, just to hear the name Duke to me says it's fixing to be some stuff in this movie.
Well, you know, Bill Duke is the brother. And so Bill Duke has made some heavy ass films. So he made Hoodlum. He does a lot of conscious film. So he intends for you to think. And so several things that he did do in the film that some of you guys had some issue with, he said it that way because this is how Martin Luther King and the so-called civil rights movement has set it up with the white folks to play prominent roles. That's why they were really featured in that particular manner, because this was the hot spot for 1965 in one of the hot spots in the United States was Bogalusa, because the Klan, you know, made it really, really happen at that point in time. And so we got to really, really focus on this whole illusion of nonviolence. Now, Tara mentioned something, and I want to make sure we get this cleared up right now, because here's the other flip for the whole nonviolence thing. A word that is different has a different meaning than another word, but it's like it's your counter, your opposite, your counterpart. That type of word is called an anonym. You got synonyms, antonyms. Synonyms, words that have similar meaning, same meaning. Anonym, opposite meaning. So what is the anonym for nonviolence? What's the
violence?
Anonym? Okay. Now, I want you all to really, really pay attention to what I'm about to say, because this is how they trick us with the whole concept of the nonviolent movement. If you say nonviolent, by default, anybody else who is not rolling with you, you're saying they're advocating what?
Violence.
All right. What is violence? Have you all ever looked up the word violence?
Nope.
Sister Fabu, look up the word violence right quick and read the definition. You got it, Sister Fabu?
Yeah, for noun it says swift and intense force, rough or injurious physical force, action, or treatment, and unjust or unwarranted exertion of force or power as against rights or laws.
Whoa! Now read that last part again.
Yeah. And
yeah, she caught it. She caught it.
That's why I slowed down on rights and law. It says an unjust or unwarranted exertion of force or power as against rights or laws. They have a sentence that say to take over a government by violence.
Whoa! So is self-defense Here's the question. I need everybody to give me their goddamn answer. Is self-defense violent?
Nope.
No.
No.
Nope.
Trick question. It's violent to people who want to be violent to you. It's violent to them. It's a threat to them if you defend yourself and they want to be violent to you.
Yeah, but we're not worried about how they defend it. We're talking about in the.
But by their definition of that Merriam-Webster or whatever dictionary you're using, that they're considering that violent.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is self-defense violent.
No. Well, I'm gonna go. I didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater with the Bible. But remember when they were in the Garden of Gethsemane and Jesus told them boys to trade in their cloaks and go get a dagger?
Exactly. So here's how Martin Luther King got played. He got played believing that any use of force is violent, and that is a goddamn lie. Because self-defense is the righteous use of force. Violence is the unrighteous use of force. It's that goddamn simple.
And you know, Brother Craig, what's interesting is that they only want to talk about us being violent as it relates to us protecting ourselves from them. When the white police officer comes out, when they're about to have the one-on-one confrontation, exactly. he don't go to the white boys who have been violent for years. He goes to force and says, "Put down your weapons," and that's what they always do. That's why it took them so long to identify white identity extremists and the KKK as a terrorist organization, which they've known about forever, because the motherfuckers are part of it. That's why.
Exactly.
Excuse my French.
And we need to be very clear on this subject now. We need to be very clear on this subject. Violence is the unrighteous, aggressive, physical use of force. Self-defense is the righteous defense using physical force. And they played us. And Martin Luther King helped them play us. Martin Luther King helped them play us. And this is how he sent people into harm's way to die. And who was the number one tool that was used in the nonviolent, so-called nonviolent civil rights struggle, and even in the Black Power struggle?
The cheering.
The goddamn youth.
And that was strategic and on purpose.
Exactly. Now, from this book here that you all need to get, The Assassination of Malcolm X, I've done this before. When you go in the back of this book, you're going to see some FBI documents. And the fifth and final goal, see, once the Black nationalist group started to take a page out of the book of the so-called civil rights movement, this is when the FBI said this: a final goal should be to prevent the long-range growth of militant Black nationalist organizations, especially among youth. Specific tactics to prevent these groups from converting young people must be developed. Now, this letter was dated 1967. So what tactics do you think they created in order to divert young people from being a part of legitimate grassroots Black nationalist groups?
Before we answer that, Brother Natambo had his hand up for a minute.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, brother. I was gonna say what was significant about today is what was yesterday, 911. In regards to this whole conversation about violence, is when 911 happened, what did the United States do? They went straight to Afghanistan. Exactly. They went straight there. to propagate acts of violence upon other people, and we never understood why we went over there in terms of the whole mood of the country. But they got the whole Congress and the Senate to agree to go to war. So that whole philosophy of nonviolence, as everybody is stating, is total BS, because nobody does that.
Exactly. And Sister Jennifer just made a great point going in concert with you on that, Brother Brian. She went to the root word of violence, which the root word of violence is violate. Violate. So if you're defending yourself, you're not violating any goddamn thing. You're defending yourself from someone who is attempting to violate you. So to get people to believe that self-defense is violence, your ass should be shot your goddamn self. And I mean that. Anybody who teaches you to allow yourself to die while your oppressor violates you, that person, whoever's teaching you that, should be killed. And I'm just being straight up honest. Martin Luther King, in his ignorance, helped the white folks to perpetuate violence on us, and he helped to condition generations of people to this day to believe that fighting back, defending yourself, was wrong, and that's very devastating. Just going on through, I forgot who brought this up, but when that point was brought up, that was Sister Fabu, when she said, Marcus said, I was just protecting my daughter. And the white guy said, that's a privilege that you don't have. And he didn't have that privilege. Why? Why didn't he have that privilege, Brother Brian?
Because we have no rights that they were bound to respect.
Exactly. And specifically to him, though, you're absolutely correct. But specifically to Marcus, he was not what?
Not a man.
White man?
He was not a man in their eyes.
Heavy.
Because the only man in this country who got privilege is who?
The white man.
Exactly. Okay. So we not really talked about overcoming fear. Question. Because we watched the movie Spooks, who sat by the door. Who were the spooks in this movie? Who were the spooks who sat by the door in this movie?
The butlers.
Whoa, good one there, brother. Who else?
I'll be paying attention.
Who else? It's one that's even better than the butler. He was Ivy. Who was the best spook that sat by the door in the film? $20 for anybody who can answer.
Was it the longshoreman who got the gun?
Damn, man, you wasn't
That's what I was about to say.
Damn, David. Shit, I can't give you no $20. That's too easy.
I deserve half. I just text David that answer. He just said it too fast. He got that from me.
David knocked it out he was so cool with the long story. Great brother D.
You going back on our deal like a white person, Brother Craig. You can't do that, man. I need my 20.
Text me your damn cash app, man.
It's all good. I'm just saying it's all good.
I'm just messing with you. But yeah, text me your cash app. I got you. But David is absolutely correct. These were the spooks. Any more spooks who sat by the door? But that was the best one. And the reason that it's important to understand the longshoreman is because it was a clear example. We already have networks in place.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The goddamn network. Grassroots people act like they ain't got no juice. We got juice. And then we got some people like Sister April, who is a school administrator. and she married to a grassroots soldier. See, sister, everybody that's a bourgeoisie ain't a sellout. My queen is bourgeoisie, but she legit. She a doctor, but she legit. April is bourgeoisie, but she legit.
Now you need to stop. You need to stop. But you calling the I hear you, Brother Craig.
But see, everybody that's a bourgeoisie is not a sellout. 99% of their ass is, but not all. but Joseph's wife, April, and my queen, and everybody on this call, Sister Jennifer, Sister Rick, see, that's why we call ourselves grassroots hybrid. And that's really what we are. But we got a network of people. Joseph would fit in the category of the individuals on the longshoreman because Joseph had skills of operating heavy equipment. Mm-hmm. And so when people like that study and read books, they're not perceived as being somebody who would be political. Mm-hmm. You see? So that's how we can now connect all the dots.
No, that's true.
Somebody mentioned prayer without action. I told my grandmother that in 1995. Prayer without action means nothing. And who is the number one entity in the world who needs 100-year extended vacation?
Jesus.
Jesus, goddamn it.
Jesus tired.
Jesus needs an extended vacation. Because Negroes want Jesus to do everything. Now, who was the sellout spook who was sitting by the door that was a part of the movie?
Reverend.
Damn, David. David is hitting him out the park. Isaac Davis don't sell out ass.
and he plays that role so well. It annoys the hell out of me.
I just say I'm gonna go to the mayor and ask him to protect the children, and in return, we're gonna shut these goddamn protests down. And we're gonna vote to put these white boys out of town.
Did he have a conversion? I wasn't exactly sure about this scene when the young white boy spit on him, and then he looked to the street and there's some white boys, two white dudes were walking up with a big old Confederate flag in the background. And then after that, he said, "I'm going to march with you." So that was his conversion, right? In the movie.
That was his conversion. Hell, you damn near 400 years old. At some point, you need to be willing to die.
Sad it took that long, huh?
Yeah, you 400 years old.
He did say that while he was talking that he was raised like that. He was raised to fear white folks and the Klan.
Right.
And he finally was able to get some semblance of manhood. And that's what he said to Marcus. You helped me regain my manhood.
Hey, look here, man. And Brother B, he even went deeper. He said it was bread in it. Dang.
Yep.
And that's the epigenetics. Y'all need to look that term up. Epigenetics. EPIGENETIC. Genetics. ECTICS. Epigenetics. That is the non-physiological element of what is passed down through your genealogy. All right? So that was very important in terms of the pacifying. And, you know, Marcus's conversion, we know, came when his daughter put him on the spot. And you know, look what he said. That's enough, young lady. I hit you. And she put him on the spot. You'll hit me, but you won't hit that goddamn white.
Boom.
And that's something.
And you know, that's a very good point, Brother Craig, because you know, as we always talk about it, the melanated savage Negro, we will kill each other left and right, but we won't kill a white man to save our life.
Exactly. And I did like how Bill Duke put in the movie when the white boys were trying to get him to register and protest against the plant, and they were trying to get the guys to do it. Man, them guys was like, "Hey, man, get that paper out of my way." Man. They ain't want nothing. They ain't want nothing to do with that. Okay. Now, what was the main industry in the movie?
Paper.
Patterson Paper Company.
Yeah, that was pretty much the same thing throughout the South. Paper mills, that was a main industry. Let me ask you guys this question. Coming out of slavery, what was another critical reason why the Klan, beyond preventing people from voting, what was another critical reason why the Klan had to be created in order to intimidate black people? And it's connected to the freedom.
So they wouldn't organize themselves politically?
Well, we know that politically. It's another way the organization and component, and it's brought out in the film, but it wasn't totally mentioned. As a matter of fact, it directly connects to Marcus Garvey's power and A. Philip Randolph's power.
You're outnumbered?
The mobilization and organization of labor.
Oh.
Because coming out of slavery, who were the skilled craftsmen?
Coloreds.
Who were the artisans?
Coloreds.
Who were the agriculturalists?
Nantambu's cousins.
Okay. See, the other reason that the Klan had to be organized and to intimidate us is for labor reasons. Get it?
Yep.
The only people that could have been working the goddamn job was who? Us.
Yeah, that's what the mayor said. He was saying, like, who gonna cook your food? Who gonna build your house? And he said that the man and the butler came right in, served them the food.
Exactly.
That's like the same scene from The Spook Who Sat by the Door, when they broke down how all black folks run the entire industry, and if they locked them down, then nothing would happen for anybody else.
And the white man's arrogance made it impossible for him to see that this person could be my enemy.
Exactly.
Which is a good thing for us.
Exactly. So labor is always a part of the intimidation along with governmental politics. And if we understand the importance of mobilizing and organizing, it gets into a lot of different categories beyond just the mere aspect of governmental politics. And finally, although there are other good points, I'll sum it up and open it up for any questions. The point that Tara brought out at the end, oh my goodness. You know, you've already been denied, but you want to go back into the goddamn stove just because now you can. So you can now try on a goddamn hat. And the whole push was to fit in. It wasn't to establish your own shop. And this is why it's necessary to create economic development, cooperative economics in our own places. And once they had achieved their goal, that was one of the reasons. I was also reading up on the fact that in other cities, I think because the term connected to church, especially up in Chicago, those chapters were not going to be able to make it with the more aggressive Black Power movement. I think that was one of the other reasons. But once they achieved the objective of pseudo-integration, most Negroes was like, we good. We don't need to, we don't need to do this no more. And that's pretty much where it stood. All right, so that's the overview from my standpoint. You guys gave some good input, but definitely research those topics. I appreciate Sister Jennifer bringing up the root word for violence, meaning to violate. Let's really look at that term. Let's really understand that self-defense is not violence. Let's really understand that the illusion of nonviolence is a retarded philosophy. We don't need to be focused on being the aggressor, but we damn sure need to be equipped to protect ourselves and whatever we put together. All right, with that, I open it up to any questions or comments. Any questions, any comments? Any recommendations for the next movie in 2 weeks? Who got a real good one? Got a few.
I recommend The Family.
The Family's a series, man.
Oh, you're right. My bad. All right.
But we do want them to look at The Family.
Yeah. Do you remember the name of that movie I sent you about plea bargaining? It's
Just Mercy.
No. That's recent. Hold on. I think I have a picture. Give me a quick second to open my desktop. See if I can find it real quick. It is called, where is that movie? Shoot, I think I deleted it. Anyway, I'll look it up.
I think, I don't know how everybody feels about this, but I was a Miracle at Santa Ana.
Say that again, Brother B.
A Miracle at Santa Ana.
Oh, I like that movie. That's a good movie. That's a powerful movie. Okay. Text that to me, brother. Please. So I can put that on the list. All right. Anybody else?
American Violet. That's the movie I was talking about.
Okay, American. Okay.
Yeah, it shows the impact of the plea bargaining system and how detrimental that is to our people, and how that begins the cycle of us being incarcerated and 3 strikes and all that good stuff.
Okay, I got it. All right, well, that's all that I have for today, man. But like I say, connect the dots in all the movies that we have gone over. All of them fit into each particular movie. Each thing, everything revolves around the Matrix, and you can see the various entities in this movie. Forrest Whitaker, once he found himself, he would have been considered to be a divergent, type entity. But throughout each film, you can connect dots and learn deeper lessons.
All right. Well, Brother Craig, thank you very much. As usual, you did an absolutely awesome job of breaking down this movie, Deacons for Defense. As you said in the beginning, I want to remind everybody that all of our films, every film review that we do, and everything else that we do is connected to one another, because we want to educate you and to tie in all of this stuff to our current struggle to not become a permanent underclass in the country that our people built. We are not here to just inform or educate you. We are here to inform, educate, motivate, mobilize, organize, and build. Everything we say and everything we do is about getting you, Black person, right now watching this movie review. We're trying to get you on board to help us build a nation within this nation for our people moving forward, period. We're not here to just inform and educate. We're trying to get you to do something, because if we don't do something, then nothing changes. If you want more information about the Black Gold Nation movement, go to our events website, blackgold-wakandarising.com, blackgold-wakandarising.com. Click on After the Protests, and register for one of our virtual city tours as we seek to mobilize 100 teams of Black people nationwide to actually do something that matters. In closing, I'd like to end all of our events with two things. One, always, always, always remember that no one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And absolutely, always remember that nothing is more sacred. Not me, not you, not your kids, not my kids, not your family, not my family, not your schooling, not your job, not your business, not your nonprofit. Nothing is more sacred than the liberation and salvation of Black people. Because if Black people don't make it, all that other stuff does not matter. But if we take care of the group, if we take care of the tribe, if we take care of the nation, then by default, all of these other things will also be taken care of. So with that, I want to thank you guys again for being a part of the movie review. Please share this as it is being recorded and it's been running live on Facebook. Please share this with other Black people because we need as many Black people on board as possible so that we can build a nation within this nation and change the dynamic of what is happening to our people in this country and around the world. So with that, again, you guys, thank you very much. God bless you. You have a wonderful weekend. Hopefully we'll see you at the next movie review. Y'all have a good one. Thank you very much.
Peace, dog.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.